Hello everyone, I'm Renown Zero. We are back again talking about something very important when it comes to the indie comic industry, and I find it very funny how when an individual points out what he considers to be a misprint, you have people claiming that the person is lying. Meanwhile, these are the same guys that did the exact same thing to Eric July when he came out with Bloodroof and presented his cinematic pan, and you had people out there saying that, oh, it was actually a misprint, even though he literally said that the Saskas had one vision. He decided to make a creative decision to change said vision. But when people pointed out in different comics that are not Eric July's, everybody wants to say, oh, it's an artistic, a stylistic choice for that person to make. I find it very hypocritical that that's the thing that someone would say, but when Eric July does it, it's, oh, he's lying, you guys are fooled, this and that. But I will say it might just be blown a little bit out of proportion, and I'm going to obviously keep that same energy when I say I have no reason to believe that it's anything other than the stylistic choice of that artist to do it the way that they did. So we're going to get into all of that, of course, with the pre-order collection. Of course, we always start, as always, promoting our favorite indie comics out there, like Norfolka, Glorious Death, #1. Pre-order collection just went up on Friday, this past Friday. Has 82 days left to go at 2,202 total books sold, at 85,827 in total sales. Now, the collaboration with Dan Vasc and Eric July for the Song of Glorious Death was absolutely awesome, was absolutely fantastic. The animated trailer with that song was great. Obviously, the animation isn't a total masterpiece. There obviously are a little bit of problems with it, in my opinion, but the song that came with the animated trailer really will get you hyped for buying this comic. And this is honestly one of my most anticipated comics from the Rippaverse ever since Norfolka was introduced at the end of ISOM #1. And I'm really looking forward to reading this story and finding out more about these gods. So there are obviously 4 different covers you can get. There are signed and graded versions. There you can buy the digital song for Glorious Death. They have vinyls, they have posters, they have shirts, etc., etc. So get in where you fit in with that one. They also have Ripazine #4. This is a book, like a magazine, not a full-fledged comic book, but it does have a short story called Catch and Kill, and it is currently sitting at 2,353 in total books sold, at 44,272 in total sales, and has exclusive previews for Yara #3, The Horseman #1, Zalen What Kills Must Die, which is a book I have to read, and Great War Separation #2, which is a book we'll be talking about something with that in just a little bit. And then, of course, you have Saints and Sinners #1 with the anthology of books written by J. David, Heel vs. Babyface, Eric July, Mauler, the Saska Sisters, and the Critical Drinkers. So that is sitting at 8,919 total books sold and 324,770 in total sales. And there is a hardcover edition, so that'll be the one that I'll be getting because it looks better on the shelf and it's easier to place on a shelf. So now, we're going to get into what the full discussion of this video is truly about, with Student of God here saying this is a misprinted comic. This is from Graham Nolan's recent comic, Joe Frankenstein, The Eye of Ra. I await meltdowns from Ethan Van Sciver and Shane Davis about this, but it will not happen because they hold Rippaverse and Eric July to a higher standard than Comicsgate. So now, we have the response that Literature Devil would pull up directly from Graham Nolan, and we're just going to simply pull that up. It's where Graham Nolan simply says, this is not a misprint, but a stylistic choice. This book did have a misprint, and I trashed them all and had it reprinted at my own cost so my backers got the best book possible. That's perfectly fine. That is pretty reasonable for you to do. You get rid of books that are misprinted, and you make the reprints for the books at your own cost. Now, there are people that will say, well, I guess Eric should have done the same thing. Well, Eric did offer full refunds for all of these books when they were sent out, and he did generously give everyone a 60% off coupon, which is absolutely awesome and allows me to pick up items that I never thought I would be picking up due to the fact that it was a little bit too much in my opinion. That's why it shipped 3 months late. That's how it's done. Of course, showing a panel that looks like it did have a slight misprint there. However, the hypocritical thing about all of this is what Literature Devil says within the next tweet that he puts out after he has this little back and forth with Student of God. This is what the biggest hypocritical thing about all of this is. He goes on to say, so then, it's perfectly valid criticism to reject a creator's claim that something was done as a stylistic choice and name it as an error they're lying about. It's almost as if Eric July did the exact same thing, did he not? Eric July put out a video about Bloodroof stating that he decided to put a 2-page spread with something that was, a 2-page spread, as people would say, and he stated that the Sasuke sisters intended it as a 2-page spread, but he chose to do he chose as the creator, the editor-in-chief, the creator of the character, that he would change it into a cinematic pan. And these are the same individuals, right? There are individuals out there that claim that Eric was lying, that it was indeed a misprint and not exactly an artistic choice, and people out there were saying that people were duped into believing a lie. So this is the exact same thing where this person made a claim, Eric did, that it was a cinematic pan, his own creative choice to do something a certain way, but people claimed it was an error and then also claimed Eric was lying about the quote-unquote misprint, when it was ultimately his choice to make it that way, and they lied about it with zero proof to the contrary. So I will keep, again, that same energy by saying, if this is how Graham Nolan chose to put it this way, if this is the stylistic choice he chose to go with, who am I to say that he is lying? I cannot read Graham Nolan's brain. I cannot read Graham Nolan's mind. If this is how he intended it, perfectly fine. That is where I disagree with Student of God. It's almost as if I can have my own logical thinking and come up with my own opinions. However, I will do a little bit of pushback towards Graham Nolan because I think it's very stupid and very, I don't know how you say, a little bit silly that he would take shots at people for sending out quote-unquote misprints, right? So I said, that's interesting considering the email I got for the Great War of Separation #2 that specifically stated a delay occurred due to a misprinting, and also the 60% coupon was also huge. That would be from the misprint from Zaylan, which was a bleed over. No need to throw shade at a person who's never thrown shade at you for no reason. And what I'm talking about is that everyone who pre-ordered the Great War of Separation shipping was delayed because there were errors found in covers B and C of the book. Me personally, I ordered cover D because I wanted, I believe Great War Separation #2, that cover D was indeed drawn by Kanan White, and I'm a big Kanan White fan. I'm a fan of his artwork, so I always tend to buy the covers drawn by Kanan White. So it's interesting that you would say this, even though Eric literally took the criticism that you guys claim that he can't take, and he delayed shipping the Great War of Separation #2 due to a misprint, due to a printing error, and he decided to go ahead and reprint the books. So you are sitting here taking shots at someone that never really takes shots at you whatsoever, praises you, shouts you out, talks about your work a lot. You're probably one of his favorite comic creators out there, along with Chuck Dixon, and you went around and had the gall to throw shade at Eric for what? For what reason? I have no idea. I think it's very hypocritical, like I said, once again, that one person can claim something is a stylistic choice while another person can say the exact same thing, but only one person is lying. It's either they're both lying or none of them are lying. So thank you guys for absolutely just showing the hypocrisy even further when it comes to the criticism against Eric July versus the criticism against somebody else you like. But I think I've made all the points I needed to make with this video. Thank you all for checking it out. I really do appreciate all the new subscribers, returning subscribers, new viewers, and returning viewers. If you do like this video, smash the like button. Comment below if you feel all this. Subscribe for more content. Hit the bell for notifications. Set the bell to all. That way you'll get a notification anytime I post a new video or go live on the channel. And I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.